Have you ever wondered why one painter returns again and again to the same faces? The Virgin, the Child, the angels, the saints. Was Botticelli simply repeating himself, or was he searching for something that words could never explain? When most people hear the name Botticelli, they immediately think of the birth of Venus or Primavera, beautiful paintings, extraordinary paintings, but they represent only one chapter of his life. If we truly wish to understand Botticelli, we must look beyond mythology, we must follow him into sacred. Because Botticelli was not simply painting stories, he was painting belief, hope, compassion, silence, the invisible qualities that make us human. Madonna and Child with the young St. John. Look carefully. Nothing dramatic happens, no battle, no king, no miracle, only a mother, a child, another child. Why? Because Botticelli believed holiness could exist inside ordinary tenderness. Notice the hands, the eyes, the silence. Everything slows down, nothing demands attention, everything invites contemplation. Adoration of the Magi. Now everything changes, kings arrive, scholars arrive, travelers arrive, the entire world moves toward one child. This is no longer simply a biblical story, it becomes a story about humanity, different nations, different generation, different people standing together looking into one direction. Perhaps great civilizations are built exactly like this, not by everyone being the same, but by everyone walking towards the same light. Mary with the child and singing angels. Listen. Can you hear them? No? Botticelli painted music without song. The angels do not perform, they celebrate. They celebrate what? Harmony, joy, peace, perhaps beauty is something we hear with our eyes. The life of Moses. Now Botticelli leaves the intimacy of family. He begins to paint civilization itself, law, leadership, responsibility, faith. Moses is not simply a prophet here. He becomes a symbol of moral leadership. Punishment the rebels. Every civilization must ask the same question. What happens when authority loses legitimacy or when people reject wisdom? Botticelli does not paint violence, he paints consequences. Primavera. Spring, flowers, movement, nature. This is perhaps the happiest painting ever created during the Renaissance, but it is much more than beauty. It is renewal after every winter life returns. Venus and Mars. Love and war, softness and strength, peace and power. Botticelli reminds us that civilizations are shaped not only by soldiers but also by poets. Castello Annunciation. Finally, silence. The angel arrives, Mary listens, no explosion, no spectacle, only one acceptance. Sometimes history changes with a whisper. Holy Trinity. 3 persons, one essence. Whether viewed through faith or philosophy, this painting asks a timeless question. Can unity exist inside diversity? Who was Botticelli? A painter? Yes, but more than that. He was one of the first artists to show us that beauty is not decoration. Beauty is education. Beauty teaches us how to look, how to listen, how to become gentler. Why do museums treasure Botticelli? Because he preserved the soul of the Renaissance, not its buildings, not its kings, its soul. Why would a collector dream of owning a Botticelli today? Not simply because it is rare, but because every morning it will remind him that greatness does not begin with wealth, it begins with refinement. Why would an artist study Botticelli? Because balance cannot be copied, grace cannot be memorized, they must be lived. Perhaps that is Botticelli's greatest gift to humanity. He reminds us that beauty does not exist to impress us, it exists to transform us. The Renaissance did not become great because it produced beautiful paintings. It became great because artists like Botticelli believed that art could elevate the human spirit. And perhaps that is why we still return to him more than 500 years later, not to admire the paint, but to remember the possibility of becoming better human beings. Radyo Galeri